Now, when it comes to Aubrey Drake Graham, the man who has spent the better part of 2 years convincing the planet that he is somehow still untouchable, still the streaming god, still the cultural center of gravity in this entire genre. Well, buckle in, because the Iceman is not just melting, he is hemorrhaging, and the receipts that are dropping in real time are so damaging that even the most loyal foot soldiers in his comment section cannot stitch together a coherent defense anymore. The Iceman. The Iceman. They sold us a frozen monument, and what we got was a puddle. We are watching, in slow motion, the single most expensive, most coordinated, most aggressively manufactured comeback campaign in modern rap history disintegrate on live television. And the part that is making me sit up in my chair is that the same machine that spent 6 months telling us this album would bury Kendrick Lamar, silence the not like us conversation forever, and restore the so-called throne, is now scrambling, deflecting, lawyering up, and cooking up new conspiracy theories every 48 hours just to keep the body warm. The streaming chart for Iceman looks like a patient flatlining in the ER. The lead single got dethroned in 2 weeks by a country artist, and an Ariana Grande song that had barely been out a week. The fanbase is openly holding strategy meetings on Twitter Spaces like they are quarterly investor calls. And the man at the center of it all has reportedly sued his own record label over the rollout of a diss song that was aimed at him. Read that sentence again, because nothing about it is normal and nothing about it screams winning. This is not a Drake story anymore. This is the story of an entire era of manufactured dominance running headfirst into a wall of actual human taste. And tonight, we are going to walk through every single crack in that wall, brick by brick. And before I touch a single number, before I pull up a single chart, before I show you the receipts that are about to make the comment section explode, I need you to do one thing for me right now. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and turn the bell on, because every time this channel touches the Iceman situation honestly, the bot armies, the reply guy battalions, and the entire ecosystem of paid hip-hop blogs come crawling out of the basement to mass report, to dislike bomb, to bury what you are about to hear. I am not playing in the safe sandbox tonight. We are going into the streaming decay, the label warfare, the publishing chess match, the manufactured stan culture, and the cold, surgical reason why this album was always engineered to collapse the second the audience stopped pretending. So if you ride with truth over press releases, tap in right now, because what is coming is the version of this story the mainstream blogs are too compromised to tell you. Let me set the table so nobody gets lost. Drake released Iceman as the centerpiece of his big post-Kendrick reset, the album that was supposed to put a lid on 2024, erase the Not Like Us era from the history books, and reassert his place at the top of the food chain. The rollout was theater, a literal block of ice in Toronto, a cover art lifted straight from the visual language of Michael Jackson, glove included, designed to whisper to the casual viewer that this man is now in that conversation. A press cycle full of carefully placed leaks. Streaming partners reportedly aligned on day one playlist real estate across Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon. Every domino set up perfectly. And for about 14 days, the illusion held. Iceman debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The headline screamed about Drake passing Michael Jackson for most #1 singles by a male solo artist. And the loyal blog circuit ran the same celebratory copy across every site like they were reading from the same fax machine. Then the audience showed up. The actual listeners, the people who decide whether a song lives or dies, started doing the one thing the machine cannot control. They stopped pressing play. And from that moment on, the entire architecture of this comeback started shaking, because Drake's commercial identity for the last decade has been welded to one metric and one metric only, and that metric is streaming volume. Take the volume away, and the question that has been hovering over this man's career for 2 years becomes deafening. What is actually here when the numbers go quiet? That is the question we are answering tonight. And I promise you, the answer is far uglier than even his harshest critics have been willing to say out loud. The same let me walk you through the surface evidence first. The stuff anybody with a phone can verify in 30 seconds. The lead single off Iceman, the track everyone has been calling Janice STFU because of the opening, debuted at #1 on the Hot 100, held that position for exactly 14 days, and then got steamrolled. Not by some seismic cultural event, not by a Kendrick surprise drop, but by Ella Langley, a country artist most of the OVO fanbase could not pick out of a police lineup, and then almost immediately afterward by Ariana Grande with I Hate That I Made You Love Me, a song that had been on streaming services for less than a week. 6 days. 6 days of release, no block of ice, no MJ glove, no choreographed Toronto art installation, and Ariana ran past him like he was double parked. Pull up the Spotify daily chart right now and look at the Iceman trajectory. It is not a curve. It is not a dip. It is a clean diagonal slide downward, day after day, like a stock chart for a company about to issue a profit warning. Meanwhile, on that same chart, Not Like Us, a song that came out over a year ago, is still pulling well over 1 million streams a day and has crossed 1 billion total on Spotify. Sit with that for 10 seconds. A track from the previous calendar year is outperforming the freshest rollout of the supposed biggest rapper alive. And the talking point the loyalists keep clutching is the Michael Jackson record. He passed MJ. He's the greatest. He's in the pantheon. My brother, Michael Jackson, has been gone since 2009, and his catalog is still moving units, still showing up on global charts, still being licensed for film, for commercials, for every cultural moment that needs a soundtrack. Drake is alive, fully active, reportedly buying every advantage the system allows, and he cannot defend the top of the chart for 1 full calendar month against a country song and a pop single. The Michael Jackson comparison was never a real comparison. It was a marketing slogan. It was branding. It was a sticker placed on the album cover and prayed over by a publicist. And the second the streams started bleeding, the sticker peeled right off. And, oh, the temperature is about to drop several more degrees, because if you think the chart numbers are embarrassing, wait until you see what the culture itself is doing while this happens. The stans are going to absolutely hate this next stretch. So if you're still with me, double tap that like button right now and let us keep going, because the room that Drake is standing in is emptier than the front row of his last residency. Here is what nobody in the compromised press corps is willing to say out loud. The cultural silence around Iceman is louder than any diss record. Go look at the timelines of the artists who used to ride for this man publicly. Tumbleweeds. The same producers who used to flood Instagram with snippet teasers every album cycle. Suddenly remembering they have personal projects to promote dud list features, who used to clear schedules to hop on a Drake track, now mysteriously unavailable. Then flip over to the other side of the room and look at the people who were never sold the dream. Kendrick Lamar has not spoken a single word in months, has not needed to, and is somehow louder in this conversation than anyone with an active microphone. Pusha T is sipping tea on a yacht somewhere doing victory laps with his eyes closed. The Joe Budden podcast, which historically gave Drake the benefit of the doubt on every borderline call, has been picking this album apart line by line, and the panel members who used to play defense have gone quiet or flipped openly. The shift is so violent that the absence of noise becomes the noise. And then we get to the screenshots, and this is the part of the story that makes me laugh and cringe in equal measure. The leaked Twitter spaces. The group chats. Grown men in a digital boardroom on a Sunday night plotting stream parties, assigning shifts, talking about quarterly numbers, talking about chart positioning, talking about how to get the song back into the top 10 before Wednesday's tracking week closes. I want you to picture that. Picture a 35-year-old man with a job and a family logging into a voice chat to organize a stream rotation for a billionaire. That is not fandom. That is not love of music. That is unpaid labor for a corporation that does not know your name. The grift has a HR department. The cope has a benefits package. And while all of that volunteer accounting is happening in the basement of the internet, Ariana Grande dropped a single in 6 days with no campaign, no theatrical packaging, no celebrity comparisons stitched onto the album cover, and walked past Drake on the chart like he was a cone in the road. Does everybody understand the gap that is being exposed here? One artist is making music. The other is making PowerPoints. One is releasing songs that move bodies. The other is releasing songs that require a graphing calculator, a Slack channel, and a project manager to enjoy. And the casual listener, the one who decides every chart battle that has ever existed, can feel that difference instantly. They do not need a podcast to explain it. They press play, they shrug, they press skip, and the algorithm does the rest. Now I want you to take a breath, because I am about to switch lanes, and this is the part of the video where the casuals get off the bus and the real heads stay on. Because if you only look at this story as a rap story, you are missing the architecture underneath. This is not really about whether Iceman is a good or bad album. This is about what happens when an entire commercial machine, built over 15 years on streaming dominance, label leverage, publishing manipulation, and media gatekeeping, slams into an audience that finally woke up. Let us talk about the business engine, because that is where the bodies are actually buried. According to reporting across Billboard, Hits Daily Double, Music Business Worldwide, and Variety over the last few years, Drake's recent commercial arrangement has been heavily structured around streaming benchmarks and back-end performance bonuses tied to chart and consumption thresholds. In plain English, that means the man's earnings, his renegotiation leverage, his future advance structures, and his marketing budget for future projects are all welded to streaming output. When the streams dip, the leverage dips. When the leverage dips, the next deal shrinks. When the next deal shrinks, the entire orbit around him, the producers on retainer, the engineers, the ghost contributors, the marketing consultants, the PR firms, the favored bloggers, the friendly podcasters, all of them feel the chill at once. This is the iceberg underneath the Iceman. And this is also why his social media presence has become a calculator with a verified checkmark. Every chart screenshot, every Instagram story celebrating a milestone, every awkward press leak about a record being broken. All of it is not just ego. It is corporate maintenance. He is performing health for an audience of executives, not for you. And then we land on the most extraordinary detail of this entire saga. He reportedly sued Universal Music Group, his own record label, over the promotion of Not Like Us, alleging that the label inflated the song's reach through bot activity and pay-for-play radio. Pause on that. The biggest commercial rapper of his generation is in active litigation against his own label over how they promoted a song made by another artist on the same label. There is no historical precedent for that. There is no version of that story where the plaintiff is winning. That is a man pulling the fire alarm in his own building because the smoke is coming from his own kitchen. And here is the part the mainstream hip-hop press will not say cleanly, because half of that press has been allegedly funded, comped, or otherwise influenced by the same orbit for years. The blogs that ran cover stories every album cycle. The podcasters who somehow had zero critical takes during the Kendrick beef until the public verdict came in. The playlist editors who placed Iceman on every front-facing slot the day it dropped. That entire pipeline is starting to misfire. Because at the end of the day, you can grease every gatekeeper between Toronto and Los Angeles, but you cannot pay every listener in America to keep a song on repeat. The listener is the one variable that does not accept wire transfers. And right now, the listener is voting with the skip button. And here comes the truth bomb, the one I want you to actually feel in your chest, because once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. Drake's real problem is not Kendrick Lamar. It is not Ariana Grande. It is not Ella Langley. It is not country music, TikTok, generational change, or any of the other scapegoats the stands are about to flood my comment section with. Drake's real problem is that for the last 15 years, he has been the single biggest beneficiary of a streaming-era business model that rewarded volume over substance, frequency over meaning, and metrics over music. The whole industry was tilted in his favor. The playlists were tilted in his favor. The award shows were tilted in his favor. The algorithm itself was tilted in his favor. And now that the audience has shifted, now that the listener is rewarding songs that actually plant a flag in the culture, songs like Not Like Us that become anthems at every cookout, every protest, every wedding, every parking lot from Atlanta to Oakland, Drake has nothing in his current rotation that competes on that emotional frequency. Iceman is not a moment. Iceman is a memo. And the deepest irony, the thing the cover art accidentally confessed before the album even dropped, is that cultural immortality cannot be purchased. Thriller did not require a war room of stream coordinators. Off the Wall did not need a Twitter space. Michael Jackson did not have to put another star's face on his album cover to remind people he was in the conversation. The moment you have to borrow a glove from the king to argue you are the king, the argument is already over. And remember, according to multiple reports, Spotify itself had to publicly walk back a celebratory claim that Drake had broken the all-time rap streaming record, and clarify that the record still belongs to Kendrick Lamar. The platform fact-checked the rollout. The platform. That is the truth bomb. The system that built this man is no longer willing to protect him at full strength, because the system knows the audience is finally paying attention, and the audience has receipts. Meanwhile, let me show you what discipline actually looks like, because every collapse needs a contrast, and the contrast in this story is almost too clean to be real. Kendrick Lamar is sitting in his house in California, not tweeting, not promoting, not doing late-night press, not posting cryptic Instagram stories, not booking a single podcast appearance. And his diss record from over a year ago is still beating the freshest Drake rollout in active radio spins, in active streaming totals, and in cultural ubiquity. Not Like Us broke the record for most consecutive weeks at #1 on the Hot Rap Songs chart, settling at 13 weeks, finally dethroning Old Town Road, a track that was an inescapable global phenomenon in 2019. Read that one more time. A diss record turned into the longest reigning #1 rap song of the modern chart era. That is not algorithm luck. That is not a meme cycle. That is a song that the audience folded into the fabric of their actual lives. And once a song lives there, no chart manipulation in the world can dislodge it. While Iceman is melting into a soggy hat in Toronto, Not Like Us is still standing like a marble column in the lobby of the entire genre. Kendrick is winning without performing, without begging, without posting graphs, without organizing a single stream party. He is winning because the work is the work. That is what integrity sounds like on a balance sheet. The guy who treats every record like the last record he will ever make does not need to tell you he is the greatest, because the records keep telling you for him. And every time Drake screams about charts, every time the foot soldiers organize another stream rotation, every time a sympathetic blog runs another rescue piece, they accidentally confirm what we have all been saying since the spring of 2024. One man makes music that becomes evidence. The other one makes music that becomes a footnote. And this is only the opening act of the unraveling, because the next phase is going to be uglier, messier, and more revealing than anything we have seen so far. The next album cycle is going to be more desperate. The next round of features is going to be more transactional. The next attempted reset is going to be more obvious to anyone with their eyes open. The Universal lawsuit is going to keep producing discovery, which means more internal documents, more emails, more allegedly damaging communications about how this entire promotional ecosystem actually works behind the curtain. The publishing situation is going to become a story of its own, because once chart performance dips, the publishing math changes, and the leverage Drake has relied on to keep his orbit fat and loyal starts to thin. The features will dry up first, then the playlist real estate, then the favorable press. And by the time the next single drops, the same people who organize stream parties tonight will be quietly logging off, because the only thing more exhausting than defending a billionaire for free is defending a billionaire for free while everyone in the room is laughing at you. If you made it all the way to this point in the video, you are exactly the kind of viewer this channel is built for, the kind who wants the actual conversation and not the press release, the kind who can sit through a real breakdown and not need a confetti cannon every 12 seconds. Hit subscribe, turn the bell on, drop a comment with your honest take on the Iceman collapse, because I read every single one, and stay locked in for the next video, because that one is the heater. I am opening up the full Universal lawsuit timeline, the rumored publishing chess match happening behind the scenes, the two major artists who are reportedly already positioning to capitalize on this exact moment, and the leaked snippet a handful of industry insiders are allegedly already passing around that tells us exactly where this Iceman era is headed by the end of the summer. If you want to know who is really pulling the strings on this collapse, and which moves are coming next, that is the video you cannot afford to miss. Tap in. The ice is cracking. We are just getting started.